Mark Gordon Robins was born on the 22nd of December 1969 in Ashton-under-Lyne, Greater Manchester. From a young age, he showed a natural talent for scoring goals. This led him to be selected for the FA Centre of Excellence at Lilleshall under the tutelage of Dave Sexton. And at the age of 14, in 1984, he joined the prestigious academy at Manchester United. Mark scored prolifically at every level for Man United, and there was very little doubt that he'd made the grade. In the 87-88 season, Robins scored 12 goals in 30 reserve games, as well as 34 goals in 24 games for the A team. He also turned out once for the B team, got himself a hat-trick, adding a few goals in friendlies, leaving him with over 50 goals that season, which is the best goal-scoring return at Manchester United since the days of a young George Best. The next season, Mark was given his first team debut on the 12th of October 1988 in a cup tie at home to Rotherham United. Mark had already got himself 26 goals by this point in the season across all youth and reserve sides, and he came on late on as a substitute for Mike Duxbury and assisted in Man United beating Rotherham 5-0. The following season was the highlight of Mark Robins' Manchester United career. Often noted as a man who saved Fergie's job by scoring the only goal in a cup tie in the third round against Nottingham Forest. But what about the 4 goals in 5 consecutive wins that effectively saved United from relegation at the end of the season? United obviously went on to win the FA Cup as well. I think Manchester United owe a lot to this kid. It wasn't just at club level that Robins was impressing. He made 6 appearances for the England under-21s, scoring 7 goals, including 5 in one game against France in a 7-3 win in a Toulon tournament in May 1990. Now fast forward to the 91-92 season. Mark was only given 2 starts all season. And at the start of the 92-93 season, of course the start of the Premier League, Man United signed Dion Dublin, which pushed Mark further down the pecking order, and he asked for a transfer. A move to Dynamo Dresden looked likely, until Norwich City came in with an £800,000 bid. And still, at the age of 22 and leaving United with 15 goals in 59 appearances, Robins joined the Canaries, and himself and Mike Walker took the Premier League by storm. And it was this downward move that made him a legend in the eyes of all Premier League football fans. Norwich City and Mark made an explosive start to the 92-93 season, with 2 goals on his debut in a successful comeback away at Arsenal. Losing 2-0 at half-time, Robins came on just after the break and scored 2 to mark the comeback, and Norwich starting the season with a 4-2 win. But it was the next game where Mark scored arguably the best goal of his career, with an audacious volley with the outside of his right foot away at Chelsea. A goal which was replayed and watched over and over again for many years to come. Robins scored an impressive 11 league goals by December, including Sky's first live hat-trick in a 3-2 win at Oldham. After his next goal against Wimbledon, Norwich were 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League. However, they lost the next game against Man United and then went 5 games without a goal. Norwich were hotly tipped for relegation that season, but finished a very impressive 3rd in the league, with Robins finishing on 15 goals for the season, with the likes of Rule Fox, Chris Sutton, David Phillips, and of course Robins. The future was only bright for Norwich City. Robins quickly becoming a club icon in an iconic season for the club, in a truly iconic kit. Mike Walker was obviously Robins' biggest fan, and often compared him to the likes of Jimmy Greaves and Gerd Muller, with his goal-scoring prowess and his technique, rarely seen in the English game, especially with English forwards. At the age of 23, Mark had already scored an impressive 34 senior goals. However, his form dipped at the start of the following season he was dropped from the side and made his comeback against the mighty Bayern Munich. On, without question, probably the most famous night in Norwich City's history, they travelled to Germany and faced the Giants in the Olympiastadion and came away with a 2-1 win. In a game where Bayern forward Alan McInally claimed that Bayern were going to hit Norwich for 10. Thanks to Jeremy Goss and Mark Bowen giving Norwich a 2-0 lead, Christian Nerlinger got one back for Bayern just before half-time, but the Canaries held out and claimed their most famous win in the club's history. It was the first time that an English team had ever beaten Bayern Munich at the Olympiastadion. But the game was a bittersweet affair for Robins, who just after the first goal went up for a header in the centre circle with Jan Wouters, landed awkwardly on his knee and did some serious damage to his cartilage and ligaments, and was out for 6 months. The scene at Norwich City upon Mark Robins' return from injury was a very different scene to what he had left. Mark Robins' superfan and manager Mike Walker had left to join Everton, and Chris Sutton and Efan Okoku had formed a deadly partnership up front, leaving no gap for Robins to slide back in. And new manager John Dean just didn't seem to fancy him, so he sold him to Leicester in 1995. After his move to Filbert Street, he was unable to prevent them from being relegated to Division 1. However, he did help them win promotion back to the Premier League via the playoffs in the 1995-96 season, and winning the League Cup in the 96-97 season when they finished 9th in the Premier League. In 1996, Mark was loaned to Copenhagen. He played 6 games for the Danish club and got himself 4 goals. The Copenhagen supporters held him and Michael Manish in high regard, giving them the nicknames Batman and Robins. The following season, he had a short loan deal to Reading and then left Leicester to join Spanish side Ourense. And after 5 goals in 18 games in Spain, he moved on to Greek club Panionios the following season. During his time in Greece, he found himself back on loan in England at Manchester City, believe it or not, but that time was cut short by injury. He then joined Walsall on a permanent deal, followed by a spell at Rotherham United, a loan at Bristol City, and then Sheffield Wednesday before retiring at conference side Burton Albion, who he left to become the assistant manager to Alan Nill at Rotherham United. However, by February 2007 the Millers sat 13 points adrift to safety, and Nill was sacked and Robins replaced him as the manager. Robins had a fantastic first 2 seasons as manager at Rotherham. His first season saw them staying up the top end of the table, and only a late dip in form prevented them from making the playoffs. And the next season, he nearly got them promoted despite a 17-point deduction at the start of the season. Naturally, Robins was held in high regard in the game, and he was able to attract high-profile signings such as Nicky Law and superstar striker Adam Lafondre to come to Rotherham. In September 2009, Robins was appointed manager of Barnsley, who were rock bottom of the table and looking likely for relegation. But after a great run of form under Robins, they managed to escape relegation, finishing 18th. Robins then left in the 2010-11 season after falling out with the board, and in September 2012 he joined Coventry City. Robins started to change the look round at Coventry, making them top half of the table, playoff contenders, rather than scrapping around for relegation every season. And in 2013 he left Coventry to join Huddersfield Town. After a couple of years at Huddersfield, there was an agreement made to part company. He then went on to manage Scunthorpe United and was appointed on the 13th of October 2014, before returning to Coventry on the 6th of March 2017, where he remains today. Now we've been able to put Mark Robins in the spotlight, and I think you'll agree, with 92 appearances, 25 goals and 16 assists, Mark Robins is a Premiership star.